This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is Mike White. You can find me at I am Mike White on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find our past episodes at ovpodcast.com and find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com. You can also subscribe to the subreddit at r/obsessiveviewer. And if you want to help support the podcast, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, or you can simply leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It helps out a ton. Mike, you're back for...
Yeah. It's awesome to see that you guys are keeping my podcast alive.
How dare you, sir?
No, our podcast.
Yes.
Actually, Matt's cat podcast alive.
Yes.
Right.
She is the official podcast mascot.
Actually, it's the community's podcast. It's the internet's podcast, keeping it alive.
No.
I still have majority ownership over it.
No, yeah, I'm back. I'm on spring break, and I'm also on break from putting the baby's room together, so I've got a little bit of time, so I'd come back and visit you guys for a little bit.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well, we obviously love having you back forever.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so today on the podcast, by the way, we're going to be doing just an extended Potpourri episode. This has kind of become kind of a normal occurrence for us anytime Mike pops back up, mostly because we just haven't had a chance to talk to you about movies and TV and stuff, so it's a good way to touch base.
It's really basically what you're listening to is us catching up.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool. I am looking for. We tried to do a theme episode, and I know we were trying to come up with one. We had a few ideas, and it was my fault that I kept kind of vetoing Matt's ideas and Tiny's ideas. But one of these days I'll come back and we'll do a real tried and true topic episode. But I also like just catching up.
Oh yeah.
You know, we do have to do Summer of Sandler on Netflix.
Yeah.
We kind of have to do those updates, which I'm actually super dreading watching those.
Is have to the right word?
Yeah, I was going to say, unless we have to, unless Matt puts us on assignment, I probably won't watch those movies.
I might have to put you guys on assignment for it, because Netflix and Sandler, they have I think a 4-movie deal. And of course, The Ridiculous Six was the first movie of that, and then there's already a trailer for the second one.
They just teased, yeah.
Movie
number 2.
Called The Do-Over. I haven't seen the trailer because I have self-respect, but
I have, and it's really just a quick teaser. I don't know why I watched it. I don't have self-respect, I guess is what that implies. I watched it, and like it's maybe a minute long, and the first 30 seconds is really like a rehash of The Ridiculous Six, and then like they show a quick scene. It's like Adam Sandler goes, "Are you sure about this?" And Miss May goes, it, and then they just do it. I don't know. It's really stupid and very Adam Sandler-esque.
Oh my god!
I'm constantly haunted by the memory of Adam Sandler's statement when the news about the Netflix deal struck. His actual statement, his official statement on the record, was the reason. This is paraphrasing, but the important part is actual verbatim. Is when Netflix approached me for this deal, I thought that it was a great fit because Netflix rhymes with wet chicks.
I will never forget that. Our long national tragedy.
Yep.
Well, he's not wrong.
That's true. He is correct. He does know how words rhyme.
Figured that out.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get into the extended Potpourri stuff,
I think we can just push back the extended Potpourri because I have something. Well, go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then I got a question for you, Matt.
Okay. Actually, I have two things. One is that Bloodline Season 2 is going to premiere on May 25th on Netflix, and man, I'm so excited.
Nice.
I loved the first season. And then the second thing is that if you guys listen to our bonus episode or our special episode that we had last week, you can still go check out Michael and Dave's crowdfunding campaign for Surefire, their feature film con man comedy. It's at seedandspark.com. They're making really good progress with it, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, they passed 50%.
Yep, they're up to like 60% of their goal, I think.
That is great.
Yeah, but they still need, your help and support. So go check them out on OV157 and check out their crowdfunding campaign.
Right.
So, Mike, what were you going to throw at us?
So, okay, we talked about it briefly on our pod chat, and I also I think, if I remember looking at the show notes, I didn't listen to the episode, but I think I remember that you guys talked about Fuller House on one of the episodes.
Yeah, I had my buddy Sam come on to talk about it.
Tiny, were you on that?
I was not. I have not watched any of Fuller House.
Okay. Matt, could you just briefly, ever so briefly, just kind of summarize your thoughts, your position, I guess?
And also explain how you're still a man.
Well, I'll look into that.
I'm kidding.
I will. Okay. Oh, okay. My brief thoughts of it. Let's see. More enjoyable than it has any right to be, and a little over dependent on meta humor, but still pretty watchable. Watchable is what I would say. Not worthy of the flack that it's been getting around the internet, but it's nothing to really write home about.
Okay, that's fine. Do you? Is this the pilot notwithstanding? Right, you're talking about like everything after the pilot.
The entire season.
Okay, because the pilot is completely deserving of every ounce of vitriol it has received. It's honestly one of the worst things I've ever seen. And Matt, I hold your opinion as one of the highest of anybody I know. And that counts for, like, internet reviews. I look to you and your opinion sometimes before I think about Entertainment Weekly or whatever.
Nice.
And I am flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted that someone with standards as high as yours is not completely offended by that show of a first episode of Fuller House. I can't believe it. I mean, I'm giving you a hard time, and of course I'm giving you a hard time in jest because I love you. Mm-hmm. But I'm angry. I'm like hot and angry about it, and I have a friend at work who has watched it and is like, it's not that bad. No, it's really, really that bad. It's really, really that bad. It's really, really that unfunny, and it is even more dependent on the meta humor than you accused it or gave it credit for being. It was disgusting. I just can't believe it.
As the season progresses, it becomes less dependent. Like, it's not as heavily meta as it was in that first episode. And I'm not going to actively defend anything that has a full cast of actors dancing really awkwardly to New Kids on the Block at the end of their episode. But I will say, it's I wonder what people expected going into it, because it's not like this was like Arrested Development or something that was of high esteem. I mean, Full House, by its own definition, when it was originally airing in the 90s, it was a very cheesy, very kind of aggravating show.
It is. It was bad, and I don't like the nostalgia surrounding it, because it is not a show. It's a show I used to like a little bit when I was younger, but I immediately realized how bad it was shortly after that. But man, I feel like Fuller House, at least the pilot, I didn't watch any further than the pilot because I honestly couldn't, is even worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't argue with you there. I'm just saying it was so oddly watchable, and maybe it's more of a
train wreck.
Maybe.
Like you can't look away.
Not necessarily train wreck, but kind of a curiosity piece, in that it plays into the nostalgia that people have for the original show in a very unique way, and introduces.
Do you have great nostalgia for it?
I just have fond memories of like coming home and watching it on TV. Like
Okay.
it wasn't like anything that I revered too highly, but it was something that was on pretty constantly in the background throughout some formative years of mine. But yeah, it was, I don't know, something about it. It was enjoyable. It was kind of fun to just watch them do their thing.
I'm so surprised. I'm so, like, it's one of those, you know, the work we do as reviewers is obviously to criticize things, and sometimes I really think we should just leave well enough alone. People should be allowed to like whatever they like. So of course you are allowed to have enjoyed it, but I would like to be in your brain as you watch it, because I am shocked. I'm shocked that you have so rightfully proclaimed your hate for shows like Two Broke Girls or 2.5 Men, and basically anything Chuck Lorre.
Right.
But this, which I honestly think is less clever than that, you find a way to enjoy it. Like, I don't think... I'm sorry we're taking up so much valuable real estate on this show.
Oh, no.
But like, when they use the catchphrases and every single character has their moment to do one or two of their catchphrases, that's not clever. That's not clever at all. That is exactly what we expected. It's not special, important, or anything. And they're done worse than they were done 20 years ago. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I am king of nostalgia. I'm king of nostalgia. You've seen my bedroom.
Right. All I'll say to that, Mike, is that I think that you should have mercy. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Fair enough. Moving on. Oh my god.
No, but seriously, last thing about that is I totally agree. It's worse as an entertainment vehicle than those Chuck Lorre shows. I will admit that. I just
okay.
It's not
fair.
Yeah, it's not like, I don't know. I think that if it didn't have ties to a show that I watched as a child, and if it was a completely independent thing that just aired now, oh yeah, I would not give it a second thought. I wouldn't have even given it a second episode. But there was just something strange about seeing those characters, you know, grown up and interacting in new situations.
Yeah, so. I'm gonna compare. I know you said last thing, but I guess I'm not done. So I'll compare it to Girl Meets World. How much Girl Meets World have you guys seen?
I haven't seen any of it.
Zero.
Any of it? Okay. It's not good. It's really silly, and they just at breakneck pace, the tone of an episode will shift in order to oftentimes unsuccessfully shoehorn in some sort of lesson or emotional moment. It's pretty bad. Except that I will give that even though it's the same thing with a new paint of coat, or a new coat of paint, and they switch the roles, at least Girl Meets World adheres to this new Disney Channel, Nickelodeon school of kid acting that's just overactive, ADD, joke, overacting, the punchline, move on from it even if it doesn't work. At least it adheres to that. Fuller House is only nostalgia and people basically reading from the script.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no style to anything but the rehashing of old lines.
The biggest fall for me, I'm so sorry. I'm just so shocked. Anyway, the worst thing for me is when DJ's old boyfriend Steve comes in, right, and they live in this fantasy land where nothing is really that bad, even though her husband just died and she had 3 kids. Right, nothing is all that bad. Whatever. And he comes in, and I don't know, it's been a couple of years. I don't know. They don't tell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just expect you to understand. And he comes in and says, listen, hey, we had some fun times, and whenever you're ready for something more, I'm here. And I'm like, this dude showed up 30 seconds ago and gave this line that any first-year scriptwriter would put in the third episode. It was just blown away by how ridiculous that was. Like, no care for anything but the fact that we know that people in their 30s and 40s are going to laugh at this stuff because they remember it, not because it's good.
Yeah, man. It would have been so much fun to have you on that episode.
I know. Yeah, you're right. It would have been better. I'm sorry.
No.
Anyway,
you're fine.
Potpourri, whatever. You go first. I'm sorry.
Wow,
I'm sorry. I love you. I know. I can't believe the popularity. Really, it's not even just you.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not. I mean, I could have gone either way with it getting renewed. If it was just a one season and done thing, I would not have been heartbroken over it. So,
wow, that conversation went so long, you might have to cut it out.
I don't get it.
Hey.
God,
you get it, Mike.
Anyway, so
I don't want to get it. I hated the original show. I still hate the original show.
See, yeah, I don't know.
It's not like Amanda and I have gone back and we're watching Home Improvement lately, which is a really funny, really solid sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as good as you remember it.
I bet, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
for more thoughts on Fuller House, check out OV156.
Not featuring me.
Right. So anyway, we're doing extended potpourri, guys. And I guess, do you guys mind if I go first?
Go for it, homie.
Do it, man.
Next. Okay, so this, it's kind of tough for where to start here. So, I watched the movie Locke. I think it was from 2013. I watched it on Amazon Prime. I went in not knowing anything about the plot. I just really only knew about the concept of the movie, which is to say that it's a movie where Tom Hardy is in a car throughout the entire runtime. And I won't say what the plot is, but what I will say is that the movie is about a man who's trying to keep his life in order while several things work to destroy it. That's how I'll basically summarize it.
Okay.
So, first of all, I'll just start by saying neither one of you guys have seen it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so, as a just standard movie review thoughts on it, I'll just say that as an example of constrained storytelling, the movie was absolutely fantastic. It does a really great job of basically taking all of the, delivering all of the plot and all of the exposition and everything just completely through phone calls and phone conversations that Tom Hardy has with several characters while he's going from point A to point B. And that, the way it tells the story in that manner is just, it's done really well, and I really appreciated it. And, I mean, I have some weird thing where I really love, scenes of streets, like establishing shots of streets and stuff, and at night bathed in street lamps and stuff. And there's just plenty of that in this movie, and I really enjoyed. But Tom Hardy, he is freaking amazing in this. He really commands the screen, and he gives a really captivating performance, and it's filled with a lot of nuances that I really enjoyed. There are a couple scenes where he kind of he doesn't, not break the fourth wall, but he speaks to himself in the car, and it's done so lightly throughout the movie that they don't overdo it or do too much with it. It's really a great way to show his character and everything. So that's my thoughts on Locke, but this is going to be kind of weird, or I don't know how I'm going to phrase this exactly, but on a personal level, this movie freaking blew me away.
Wow.
And it was a really, really unique viewing experience for me. Let me start by asking you guys a question. Have you guys ever watched a movie where you were at like the perfect time in your life, or you were at a very specific part of your life or point in your life where seeing that movie, maybe not intentionally, but just seeing that movie, it just opened you up to resonate with it a lot more than you would have at any other point in your life?
Try say that.
Okay. I just stumbled through all of that.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Have you guys ever seen a movie where the moment in your life in which you're in, the point in your life made the movie resonate with you on a much, much, much deeper level than it would have at any other point in your life?
Oh, I'm gonna talk about that tonight.
Oh, sweet.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I
Okay.
absolutely have. Yeah,
Nice.
I have too.
Nice. Okay,
Not to anything, but I think that happens now, and I think those are some of the most important movies. Hopefully, that's the most important movies for anyone. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I love those kinds of experiences. Go ahead,
yeah.
Noah.
Okay, so as we're recording this, and we talked about this in an episode that never aired, or it was never put up because of technical problems. But as we're recording this, it's been 1 month to the day since my dad passed away. And I can't, I'm not, and I can't and won't go into specifics about anything, but I will say that the week leading up to his death and the week following were unbelievably, like unequivocally the worst 2 weeks of my life. And just no question about it. And seeing Locke, I watched Locke, probably 2 weeks after that all transpired. So basically my dad had congestive heart failure, which we found out in September, and that's when he was put into in-home hospice care, and we were basically, when the nurses said that he was degrading rapidly, was when we all kind of were there and we were taking care of him 24/7, and it was a surreal experience. And I mean, it was a terrible experience, but I mean, I was happy that we were able to honor his wishes, because he didn't want to go into a nursing home or any kind of hospital or anything. He wanted to stay at home, and I was glad that we were able to provide that for him. However, during that 2 week span, I guess it was more like 2.5 weeks, there was other stuff going on. Like the day that it kind of everything went to hell, or the shit hit the fan, my mother was taken to the hospital for a combination of pneumonia and the flu. And so everything was in disarray. My siblings and I had to scramble and take time off work and do a bunch of other stuff. And basically throughout the last week and a half of my dad's life, it was kind of dependent on us to kind of step up and take care of him. Otherwise, there was no one else to do that. And there were days and experiences within that time where I would be in a position where I didn't want to be in that position, in a position of having to make choices and having to make decisions and having to deal with putting out fires and figuring out stuff and making sure that I'm not cracking under the pressure and I'm not, that I'm staying strong for the people who are, experiencing this with me and everything. And seeing Locke, which is a movie about a guy who has something going on that through him and just a phone, he's trying desperately to keep everything about his life. He has this kind of somewhat idyllic life, or he has a very specific life, basically. And he's trying to put out all these fires, and he's trying to do all of these things at once while switching back and forth from problem to problem. And it was just a really, really just surreal experience because I was watching it, and granted, obviously nothing in my life was anything like what was going on in the movie, but just the energy and the emotion involved in these sequences were like it was kind of arresting to me. It was very surreal and very unique experience, and I thought that it was a fantastically made movie. And I mean, that may, I don't know, factor into my objectivity of the movie, but I thought that it was absolutely astounding, and it resonated with me in a way that was a lot bigger than I expected it to be, and one of the more personal viewing experiences I've had in recent memory, maybe ever.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's Locke, and it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Jeez. See it.
Yes.
It's amazing when everything lines up that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
I don't know if I've had an experience like that, but I've had something similar to that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Cool.
Yep. We all have phones. No, but yeah, it was really unique experience. So yeah, Mike, do you want to go next, or should we go to Tiny, or how do you guys want to do
No,
this?
yeah, I can go next if that's cool with Tiny.
Sure.
But mine is, man, that's a tough one to follow.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going.
Yeah, but we can lighten it up if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
And so I'm kind of going to pair a couple together, and I'll also talk about the movie that has to do with my life as well. So,
Okay.
I'm going to be talking tonight about some recent movie nights. As I've said many times on this podcast before, and if you're a new listener, if you haven't heard me in a while, once a week I see a movie with my buddy Jake. He's a colleague of mine, a good friend of mine from college. And about 5 years ago, we decided to see a movie every Thursday, and we've kept that up for about 5 years. So I'm going to talk about some of the movies we've seen lately. We've been on the kick recently of horror movies, like crappy, not crappy, but February horror movies. Basically, any
Right.
movie in February is horrible. So we've seen a couple, and I want to talk about the first one we watched was The Witch, which was actually really good. And I think you guys already talked about that on the podcast.
I mentioned it in OV158, but I'm very curious what you think of it.
Well, it's not an easily accessible movie, and my students at school always ask me what I think of the movies, and they kind of give me recommendations or ask for recommendations, and they ask me if they should see The Witch. And unfortunately, I hate to do this, and I don't mean to sound like an elitist asshole or something, but I generally suggest that they don't see it. I think more than anything, they'll struggle with the language, but I also think the movie is a lot slower than they expect in a movie, and it's really just not for high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see some other things first and appreciate some other things first, and then they'll really dig The Witch. But if you've heard of The Witch before, it's really about atmosphere. More than anything, it's about fears in early settler America. It actually, I want to say it predates the Salem witch trials by 30 years or so, but really it's about super hardcore religious people and the kind of fears that it produce because of that, and the specific pressures on specifically women during that time, and what that can do to women in general, what that can do to the family unit as a whole, and it's just really chilling. The tone is just spot on, and it was a really fun movie to watch. And I can't wait to watch it again later. I would not suggest it if you're into really current slashers.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a very accessible movie by any stretch. Like, the language alone is very authentic to the time and everything.
Yeah, apparently some of the dialogue was taken from journals from the time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I loved it, and while it's not really,
it's hard to say I don't recommend this movie because I really do.
Right.
And it's hard to say if you're this type of person, don't see it. But strong recommend, and anybody should see it. But I think there is a specific audience for it.
Exactly. Like the people who see it should know what they're getting into. Really.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. And did you want to say something?
I was going to say, I haven't seen it yet, but there's an experience that made me want to see it.
Really?
There's a girl I work with who loves horror movies.
Okay.
And I've become accustomed to her tastes based on what she's told me. To put it succinctly, she loved Annabelle, and she loved the one with Patrick Wilson, and
The Conjuring.
Conjuring. There you go. But she hated It Follows. Oh. So I was like, okay, I think I understand the kind of horror fan she is. Right. And she came back and she said that she hated The Witch. So I was like, all right, I want to see it now.
Yeah,
it sounds awesome.
I see. So it's a reverse litmus.
Yes, yeah. I thought that was going to go another way.
Actually, that's a really. I like The Conjuring, but I love It Follows, and Annabelle is pretty dumb. Except we did watch it during Shocktober, and I think there are some fun moments. I think there's also a specific audience for that. It's better than a lot of the crap, but
absolutely.
She said the newer Poltergeist was good. She didn't say it was great and loved it, but she said it was good. So that's another thing.
Okay.
So
we if you guys don't mind me doubling up,
go ahead.
Kind of have a theme here if I could keep going.
Oh yeah, hey, wait. First, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the clear Kubrick influences and the Shining influence in The Witch?
I think it makes me appreciate The Shining even more.
Nice.
And you guys know that my feelings on The Shining have evolved on this show over time. I mean, I hated it, and then, interestingly, just before our debate, if you don't know, Matt and I had a debate about the merits of The Shining. Just before, I kind of had a transformative moment where I'm like, I think I really like this movie. What am I gonna argue with about the movie with Matt? Because I like it. I mean, clearly it's about setting, just like The Shining is about setting. Clearly it's about anxiety, which The Shining is about anxiety. It was there, and I loved it.
Yeah, I thought that it paid tribute to The Shining in a very unique way, in that it paid its tributes and everything, but it made some things that were very much clearly homages to The Shining, but it made it its own, and it fit into the story it was telling like it was original in itself.
It does, and it's hard to say. I think there are homages to at least some of the way Kubrick tells his story, specifically in Shining, but he doesn't have the guy who directed The Witch, and it escapes me, I apologize. He doesn't have Kubrick's camera, which is to say he doesn't linger on a shot. He doesn't follow a kid on a tricycle down a hallway for 3 minutes. There's really none of that, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I love The Witch, so I'm excited to see it again. But what's your next one? Transitions.
Yeah, well, the week after we saw The Boy, which is terrible, which is a terrible, terrible movie.
You thought it was terrible. Interesting.
I did. What did you like it?
I thought it was serviceable, really.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It was serviceable, but the week after The Witch, I mean, here's what else I thought. There was nobody else in the theater but Jake, my brother, a friend from high school, and myself. So it was the four of us, and we actually got to do a Mystery Science Theater type of thing on the movie.
Nice.
For 45 minutes, and I think, after the movie was over, we were like, yeah, that was pretty good. There were some scary moments, and we were surprised by the ending, I think, a little bit. But then looking back, it was like, I think we only enjoyed it because we ragged on it for the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Sure.
So I really don't want to talk about The Boy but what I do want to talk about is after that we saw The Other Side of the Door. And this is the one I am going to talk about for just a little bit. Have you guys seen The Other Side of the Door yet?
I'm not sure I've even heard of it.
Yeah, me neither. I feel like I may have seen like a poster for it or something, but I don't know what it is.
I'm not surprised. Completely under the radar. Nobody has seen it. It's come and gone. It's nothing. And we only saw it because it was in a low week. There was nothing there. So essentially, this woman announced to her husband that she's pregnant. They are in India. He does work in India, and when they're strolling on the beach, he says, "Why don't we stay here, raise the baby in India?" And then it's in the 6 years in the future. They're living in India. Clearly, something bad has happened, and we find out that one of their children has died. And so the story is that you can talk to your deceased family members if you spread their ashes in front of this tomb and you do a little singing. But if they try to get in, if they want you to open the door, you can't open the door, or some evil stuff happens. And as you can imagine, she opens the door and evil stuff happens. It is completely a Pet Sematary ripoff. So there's that.
Wow.
But
Interesting.
what I wanted to bring up, and this was alluded to, I think, toward the beginning of the podcast, I'm about to, in about 3 months, have my first child. I'm having a son, and he'll be born in July. Super excited, super awesome. And I consider myself a very... maybe desensitized isn't the word, but I'm not a very sensitive person. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, not a whole lot is sacred to me. I make jokes about a lot of taboo things, and I kind of always embrace those types of things, and especially in movies where taboo subjects are breached. And in this instance, when children die in movies, I mean, I've seen this sounds really sad. Hundreds of kids die in movies. And it's like, it's whatever, right? I mean, you see kids die all the time.
Right.
People do. And except this time. So in this movie, you see the son die. I'm spoiling a little bit, but who cares? It's a stupid movie. So the mom ran off a bridge, drove off a bridge, and the car is sinking, and she can't unlatch the boy who is like 5, his seatbelt, but she can get her little girl out. She's there, and the car is kind of going. It's a very tense moment, and they're like breathing on the top of the water, and they're freaking out. And she goes, "Don't leave me, mommy," which is super intense. And then, she busts out and she leaves, and the kid drowns in the car. The boy drowns. Huh. And usually, that type of thing wouldn't bother me. People die in movies all the time. Kids die in movies all the time. It doesn't bother me. But because I am having a child, and probably because I'm having a son, it affected me in a way a scene from a movie has never affected me before. And I'm so surprised to say that I turned to Jake as that was happening, and I was like, "Dude, I don't know if I can watch this. This is too much."
Wow.
And no movie has ever been too much for me.
Wow.
I think about, like Cannibal Holocaust, or what the Green Inferno, when they're chopping the dude up. And I'm like looking away because it's squeamish and gross, but I'm like, since I'm whatever, they're cutting his eyeballs out. It's kind of funny. But like watching this kid drown was too much for me.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah, I didn't walk out and we watched the rest of the movie, but it affected me in a way I've never been affected by a movie before, and that's kind of crazy.
I thought you were going to lighten things up with your
right.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. So yeah, my kid might die in a car accident.
Wow.
Yes.
Jeez.
Okay, I actually
So
am going to lighten things up.
Thank you.
Yeah, please do.
So,
Tiny watch Dumb and Dumber.
Well, I mean, the running theme for my entries are they're all comedies.
nice.
Good.
Yes, I discovered 2 new television shows.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the first one right now. Ironically, they're both network comedies.
Interesting.
We bash network, everything network, basically,
Pretty much.
on this podcast pretty often. But I think networks still have a good knack to create quality comedy shows.
There's a little bit of fight left.
There is, yes, absolutely. That's where they still have that market cornered a little bit.
And it's mostly on Fox.
Yeah,
Right.
Sorry,
actually,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
the show I'm talking about is actually the Goldbergs. It's been on since 2013. They're in their 4th season. I didn't realize they were that far along. But the premise of the show is just a really great idea. The entire show is really from the mind of the creator, Adam Goldberg. The show is basically about him as a kid growing up in the 80s who filmed everything. So Adam Goldberg has, I would venture to say, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours of home videos where he would just film stupid crap that he and his siblings did. And all of these episodes are based on a different home movie that he recorded as a kid. And at the end of each episode, they show a little clip of these home movies. And
That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
It really is a brilliant idea. That is the best word for it. It's a great idea, and it is remarkably effective. I think it's hindered slightly by just the general boundaries of television, time constraints and censorship and all that stuff, what you can and can't say, just like any other show is. But it's just such a candid look at what it was like to grow up in the 80s. It's just such a great show. It has a great cast. I think the most famous person is probably Wendy McClendon Covey. She's most famous for Reno 911.
Right.
Also, it has Jeff Garlin in it, George Siegel, who are people you'll definitely recognize. Patton Oswalt plays the narrator. He's just great. It has a very Wonder Years feel to it, but just more comedy than anything else. The cast is great. All of the characters are really well rounded. One of the kids is just this really goofy kid who has a crap ton of self-esteem for no reason. And the father's just kind of this defeated, very, struggling, kind of on the grind dad. And Wendy McClendon Covey just plays this. Today we would call her a hover mom, who wears bedazzled, sparkly sweaters at all times. It's just a really fantastic idea for a show. It's one of those instances where a person has a perfect idea and it comes to fruition. And it works in all the ways that it's supposed to. It's not the funniest show I've ever seen. There's some stupid stuff on it. Like I said, I think it's still constrained by the fact that it's a network show, but I think it's despite all those things, it's fantastic. I really think it's worth watching. You don't necessarily have to go back to the beginning and watch it all the way through, because that's not what I've done. Mm-hmm. I just kind of joined in the 4th season here, but I've probably watched 7 or 8 episodes and I'm hooked. I look forward to it every week. It's really just a fantastic idea for a show.
Nice.
It reminds me of have you guys seen on YouTube the home video commentaries?
Yes.
Yeah.
The dude and his brother found, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. Mm-hmm. And they do commentaries of their childhood, their home videos, and they're hilarious.
They're the best.
So funny.
Oh yeah.
I hate that it's a rip-off idea, but I've wanted to do that for my brother and me. Mm-hmm. Since I saw those, it just sounds like an awesome idea. It's a good idea for a show.
Oh, absolutely. And I didn't know that was the concept for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to blow your guys' mind, but when Chris Spangle was on the podcast, he brought it up way back in OV158.
Oh wow!
The fall 2013 TV season. So,
Good Lord!
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's very good. I want to say it's on ABC.
That sounds right.
I don't recall.
And I believe.
I mean, who knows these days anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that all the seasons are on. What's it called? Hulu. Yep. Hulu has all the seasons, so I might have to really bump that up and check that out.
It's also a very nostalgic show because it's about the 80s, and I mean, I didn't grow up in the 80s, but you know, you kind of recognize a lot of the things. That one of the recent episodes, the Columbia Record Company comes up, where you can, you pay a penny and you get a dozen tapes.
Yeah.
It was just classic stuff. It's classic, so it's a good show.
Very cool. Okay, so should I go next?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this will be brief. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of something. We had planned on doing a bonus episode, Tiny and I, for this, but circumstances happened and we never got around to it. But it's The Expanse, season 1.
Yeah, nice.
I did something interesting with it, pretty interesting with it. I think I talked about it in a past episode. I don't have the episode number offhand, but basically what I did was I bought the season on Google Play, a season pass, and I watched basically I streamed it from my phone to my Chromecast and just watched it that way. And it's really that's a unique way to watch a show in this day and age, because it's it comes with, like, we're in an era where Netflix and Hulu and stuff, they have like TV shows like at our fingertips, and from my perspective, physical media in terms of collecting TV show DVD sets is kind of going by the wayside. And I feel like what you're missing when you stream stuff on that is special features and stuff. But what's kind of cool about Google Play and The Expanse is that they have like a quick inside the episode segment after every episode that's included in the season pass. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, The Expanse, for people who don't know and haven't heard the past episodes where we've talked about it briefly, it's a space opera on sci-fi, and it's based on a book series of the same name by James S.A. Corey, which is the pen name of two fantasy authors, Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham. I love the book series. I've read 3 of the books. I'm gonna read more. They churn them out really quickly, and it's really impressive that they can do that. But anyway, the show is an adaptation of that, and I enjoyed the show quite a bit. I thought that it was visually really good visualization of the world and of the solar system, basically. What I was surprised by was that I went in with the bias of the book reader when I went in to see the show. So I just kind of naturally assumed that the first season would be the first book. But it's not, and it was kind of jarring because the way that the season ends, it ends at a point where there's probably another third or quarter of the book story left. And like, all I could think was, if they had this was a 10 episode season, if they had a 13 episode season, they could have just finished the book and then started with book 2 and season 2. I don't know why they did that. And in the end, it kind of, it ended in a way that was kind of not anticlimactic, but it just felt kind of inconclusive. And I have high hopes for where the series is going to go and how it's going to move forward. It's already been renewed for season 2. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to incorporate book 2 into the season when they kind of have to finish out book 1 as well. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but overall I thought the season was pretty enjoyable. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. That's The Expanse. It's on Sci-Fi. Either of you guys watch it at all?
I watched most of the first season.
Okay.
I had a different experience. I really could not get into the show.
Really?
I I really hate that because I think it's such a cool idea for a show. Every time you describe the books to me, it made me want to read them.
Yeah.
I think it just sounds awesome. I think the problem was I just couldn't connect. I think the season was just a little too convoluted. There was so much going on. There's so many different. There's so much culture to take in and absorb and kind of memorize so that you can follow the story. I think the characters were good. I really liked all the characters. I thought they did a great job. But there's literally so much conflict, be it, physical or emotional or political. It was just hard to keep it all straight. And honestly, I think I watched 7 episodes. I think I could tell you like 2 of the characters' names.
Really?
I just couldn't absorb it all, unfortunately.
That's interesting because one of the characters isn't even in the first book. She doesn't come until the second book.
Okay.
And I can definitely see how it'd be a little too much for someone who doesn't know the world or whatever, and they may have dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Honestly, I think they should have just basically everything that was going on Earth. I think they should have saved for the second season or something.
Right.
Because it just didn't. From what I saw, I don't think it tied in very well. It only tied in politically.
The political stuff.
Yeah,
that's the stuff that's in book 2.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
See, it just didn't. That just did not tie in as well as I think they hoped. I just couldn't connect to it. But I may give it another try at some point. But I can't say too much bad about it. It has a lot of fantastic qualities. The visuals, like you said,
right,
top notch. Really impressive. So.
Mike, you said you haven't seen it?
Yeah, I know almost nothing about it.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Sorry.
You're good. So what do you have for us next, then?
Yeah. All right, so the next thing I want to bring up is I feel like this would have been good to bring up, but not a lot of people have seen it or are talking about it. But I want to talk about Brothers Grimsby.
Okay.
Cool.
Interesting.
Did you guys see it?
No.
I didn't see it, but man, the trailers just did not do anything for me.
Yeah, me neither. It looked stupid. And the truth is I really only saw it because I needed something to go see. I had a little extra time, and so I turned the other side of the door into Delpheater, Brother Grimsby, before. I was the only person in the theater, so I was all by myself.
Nice.
Which was a little weird. But so the Brothers Grimsby, I feel like I need to put a spoiler alert on there right now because I really want to talk about a specific moment. Other than that, the movie is pretty forgettable. But do you guys mind if I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Please go right ahead. Spoilers for the Brothers Grimsby coming up.
Okay, so there's a moment where the brothers are running from some spies, and they see a herd of elephants. Do you guys remember Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls?
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay. So these are not fake elephants like Ace Ventura climbed into, which is to say Sacha Baron Cohen obviously climbed into a fake elephant, but Nobby climbed into a real elephant, okay?
Okay.
You with me there? Okay. Yeah. And Ace Ventura and Jim Carrey climbed into fake rhinos, right? You with me?
Gotcha.
Okay. Gotcha, okay.
So they climb into, in order to hide from the incoming spies, they climb into the vagina and uterine passage of a female elephant.
Ugh.
And so the two men, the two brothers, of course, are inside the elephant through the vagina, and they are not spotted. Right? They get away. The spies go elsewhere. However, they are not free from the incoming randy male elephants.
Oh, God.
Are coming. Okay.
God.
And so these male elephants with, I want to say 3.5, maybe 4 foot members, come to the female elephant, again, where the brothers Grimsby are hiding, and proceed to have vaginal intercourse with the female elephant and by proxy the brothers. So Sacha Baron Cohen's character, having watched a documentary on how this works, knows that the best way to finish this process, because it's obviously uncomfortable, is to simulate both the balls and the tip of the male elephant's member. So Sacha Baron Cohen's character reaches out to stimulate the balls while his brother stimulates the tip, and then the male elephant proceeds to ejaculate onto them. And they show all of this.
Wow.
You know, that's just the kind of highbrow humor that you don't get in the U.S. That's
You don't see it anymore.
yeah.
I'm loving the idea of a listener like kind of tuning us out and then coming into the room where it's playing and just hearing that part.
Yeah, right. Which is, I hope that happens.
Oh, me too.
You just described a Tom Green movie.
Yeah, exactly. I said that to a couple people, and they said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, after they're done, after the male elephant is done, they look outside to see that there is a line of other male elephants. And so, as Sacha Baron Cohen's character is trying to get out, he is forced back in by another male elephant, and then the male elephant rams him in the butt.
Jeez.
Okay.
That.
And so the movie is ultimately forgettable. But I'm just thinking the whole time, like, they don't make movies like this anymore. It's kind of weird. I really love Borat. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember loving it, and I really appreciate the Ali G show. But it's kind of weird to see that this is where Sacha Baron Cohen has come to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just odd. It just seems a far way to fall, I think.
It really is, and I'm kind of. I hold Borat to quite a high esteem as well. I haven't seen it since it came out, or I think since I bought it on DVD. But it's so weird that someone who can disappear so fully into a role and pull off something so unique as he did with Borat is doing stuff like this. I never saw Bruno. I never had any desire to. I never saw. What other movies has he had? That's just.
What was the Dictator?
Oh, the Dictator. I never saw that. Yeah. It just seems like he's very talented, but I don't think he does anything with it really. Since Borat, I don't. None of his other stuff has really appealed to me or interested me.
Yeah, he peaked early.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Could we might see the second coming of Adam Sandler from him?
Oh, geez. Yeah, maybe. Except people don't look back as fondly as they do with Adam Sandler.
That's true.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that description is so much worse than anything I could have imagined from the movie, from the trailer. And I did not like the trailer, so I'm going to steer clear of that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah, steer clear.
Okay, so next is Tiny.
Yes, sir. I watched the movie Spy recently.
Okay.
Which, if you'll remember, is Melissa McCarthy playing a spy. It's a really clever title. It's hard to understand. So I'm kind of an apologist for Melissa McCarthy. I think we're at the point now where she's basically lost all her momentum. I think we'll see what she does with Ghostbusters, but I've always liked her to an extent. But we've discussed before how she tends to play the same character, or at the very least, her characters have a lot of the same characteristics. Her style of comedy has not evolved very much. And Spy, I think, is the the climax of that. It is the ultimate example of what Melissa McCarthy's range is right now, or at least it depicts what she's famous for best, I think.
Interesting.
This movie is without question a vehicle for Melissa McCarthy. You know, I think a group or
and McCarthyism.
McCarthyism, yes, exactly, exactly. The Red Scare. Either a group or a single producer was like, let's make a Melissa McCarthy movie, and we got Spy as a result. It really isn't that great of a movie. My girlfriend loves her, and that's fine. Like I said, I pretty much like her for the most part.
My girlfriend loves her, and that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah.
You're talking about Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy,
right?
I just feel like that's the worst endorsement. I mean, my girlfriend likes her, and that's fine. Like poor Melissa McCarthy. That's what she is now reduced to. That's her career. My girlfriend likes her. That's fine.
You know what? Melissa McCarthy's doing all right. She doesn't need she doesn't need an endorsement from me. So, so that's kind of why we watch this. My girlfriend loves her. So, it's not that great of a movie, as I'm sure you could predict. It has its laughs. There's some funny parts. I think, I feel like Melissa McCarthy's being held back. I think she wants to evolve and do something different and play a different character. I think she wants to, but she's kind of making bank right now. She's really capitalizing on her popularity, and I guess I can't really blame her for that. But I'm
sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead.
I'm ready to see her do something else.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting about her, and what we're seeing in the media, what we're seeing with movies, is that they really liked her at first, and they liked how she, they were like, A, girls can be funny, and B, fat girls can be in movies that make a lot of money, right? That was the Melissa McCarthy thing, and that is so cool, and that's so awesome for women. That's awesome for girls, and that's awesome for large girls, right? That's very cool that she's that for that. But as you're saying, and I totally agree, if she wants to do anything else, it's like the world or Hollywood said, yeah, it's cool for her to be that, but we're not ready to see a funny fat girl as romantic lead.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They won't let that happen, and that sucks a lot. I think that's a bigger thing that we could talk about. We're not really that kind of a show.
Right.
But I think that's kind of important that she really does have this level of popularity, but I'm sure she's saying, make me a romantic lead in a comedy. Let me be Kristen Wiig in a movie. I don't want to fall down all the time. And they're like, you know what? You're just good doing the McCarthyism thing.
Yeah.
McCarthyism.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Have you guys seen the trailer for The Boss? She's got The Boss coming out here in a few weeks.
It's basically Spy.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, not in plot or in theme or anything like that, but it seems like Spy. I mean, it seems to be doing the McCarthyism thing.
Interesting. See, I have kind of a different take on the preview, on the trailer. It's not like it doesn't seem like any of the humor of it is centered around like her being. It's like a fish out of water story, judging from the trailer and everything, but it's a different kind than what we're accustomed to from her. She's not like the big girl that's falling down and everything, and she's like the commanding person of an industry who's fallen like a riches to rags story basically. And she's in the trailer, she's giving like relationship advice and stuff to Kristen Bell, and I think that's an interesting. We'll see how that goes, but it's interesting also because she co-wrote the script with her husband, who also directed it. So we'll see. That'll be interesting if how that works out, and that'll be a good indication of what she wants out of her career, because it's something that she co-created with someone very close to her. But then again, he also did Tammy for her, and I think that was basically more of the same, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm ready to see her evolve and do something else because I think she has the ability to do it. Spy just wasn't good.
That's a shame. I actually heard pretty okay things about Spy, but I just never got around to seeing it.
Well, I've seen it twice.
I saw it, and it's pretty okay.
Okay.
It's pretty okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed at it plenty, I guess, but I nothing really stuck with me. I don't think there's any like lines or jokes that are gonna become part of the zeitgeist. It's not that kind of comedy.
Oh, that's a different conversation altogether. I don't think any lines or jokes are part of the zeitgeist anymore. That doesn't happen anymore.
Every once in a great while. I think it's been a while. 3-4 years maybe.
I'll say my students don't do it anymore. 3 or 4 years sounds about right.
I Love You Man, that comes to mind.
Yes.
That had that kind of,
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, though.
That movie was like 2011, I think. So, yeah.
2009.
2009,
Oh, jeez, is that long
2009.
ago? Jeez.
We're due for one then.
Yeah, we're due, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. The Hangover?
Yeah, that's 2007, I think.
Is it really? Is it that
All
old?
right, yeah.
Good God. We're old, I guess.
Right?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so for my potpourri next, I want to kind of touch on a few different Netflix shows that I've watched recently. I won't talk too much about Love as much as I want to, because actually here tomorrow and later this week we're going to have a bonus episode about Daredevil Season 2 where I'm going to be talking to our friend Pat from the Nerd You're Looking For podcast.
Nice.
I forgot to mention that to you guys. No, but we're going to be reviewing Daredevil Season 2, and I think he's going to bring this up for Potpourri, so I'll talk more at length about this show then. But for now, I'll say that Love on Netflix, which is produced by Judd Apatow and Paul Rust. It stars Paul Rust and Gillian Jacobs. I don't know, it's a kind of it's a story about two people who I don't know. All I'll say is that I started out really disliking the characters. Like, it got to the point where I was just completely rooting against them.
Wow.
Not just for pretty much I was rooting against them getting together, and everything. But by the end of it, I kind of thought that it was a really interesting dissection of relationships with realistically damaged and flawed characters. And it was, it held my attention, and it really kind of ramped up at about midway through it, and I actually ended up enjoying it quite a bit, so we'll see where it goes from there. And I'll talk more at length about it in the bonus episode I mentioned. And then I'll touch on these two briefly, because I didn't watch much of them, but Mitch Hurwitz and Will Arnett have a new show on Netflix called Flaked. Have you guys seen this or seen anything about it?
I think it was promoted on my Netflix, but I didn't really look into it.
Yeah, so it's basically I don't know. Okay, so I only got like halfway through the first episode. I'll probably revisit it at some point, but IMDb's plot summary is just a basic like logline for it that says a self-help guru needs a decent amount of help himself. And like I said, I got about halfway through the episode, and I don't know, I just kind of thought it was a little dry, and I just couldn't really get into it. It could have been that I just wasn't in the mood for it. Because I was also in the middle of watching Daredevil, and they're vastly different shows, so it's possible my attention was on something else. But I will say that the trailer for it really made it look like the Netflix TV show equivalent of the type of indie drama movie that I absolutely go nuts for and I love. So I don't know.
What?
Let's see.
Drinking buddies?
Something like that. somewhat. But less like mumblecore, like improvised stuff, like more like the kind of the trailer kind of plays out like not really Little Miss Sunshine, but the kind of indie drama comedy that basically has a notable actor who's kind of, you get the sense that they took it just because it's a really meaty role. Like, I'm thinking of like the Skeleton Twins with Kristen Wiig and
yes. Okay.
Bill Hader.
Okay.
So it's that kind of thing where they can really dig into a character that has a lot of stuff to him.
Gotcha.
So that's how the trailer plays out. So I'll go back and watch more of it and report back. Another show the last Netflix show that I'm going to talk about in this segment is The Characters. And this is a show that I'm probably not going to revisit. The plot summary from IMDb is: no rules, no expectations. A half hour to make their mark. 8 different comedians each get an episode to show their skills in comedy. So it's basically, like, as a concept, it's a sketch show where each episode is the creation of one specific comedian, and they play multiple characters in the sketch. This basically 30-minute, like, series of sketches, basically. So as a concept, it's really interesting, and I really like that, and it's showcasing some really good young comedians, but something about the style I just didn't really like. The first episode has Lauren Lapkus, who the main sketch of it is kind of a play on celebrity dating reality competition shows, and it was okay. It was kind of hit or miss, but there was some other, like, kind of running gags or running side sketches, basically, that were, I don't know, kind of labored, and it was just, I don't know, it made it so I got about 10 minutes through the second episode, which featured John Early, who I know him from Wet Hot American Summer, First Day at Camp. But just, I got about halfway through it, and I just felt like, you know, the style in general just really wasn't for me, and it's not really, even though it's eight half-hour long episodes of very very goofy sketch comedy, it didn't seem like conducive to binge watching for me, and that's something that I was kind of looking for, and it just didn't deliver for me. But I will say I like the concept a lot, and I hope that they do something with it at some point. It just wasn't for me. And that is The Characters.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, Mike, what do you got for us next? I don't know.
Yeah, that brings it to me. And so what would be most pressing on my list is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Have you guys talked about this already?
No.
I talked about it a little bit on the Fuller House episode, but it was just a brief kind of thing. And it's worth mentioning that I think I'm going to be on Film Schlubs in the coming weeks to talk about it, so look out for that. But what did you think?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. That makes it tough.
Sorry.
Right.
That's okay. Yeah. Matt, have you seen it?
I have.
I really, really, really liked it a lot. I really liked it a lot.
Nice.
I had fun with it. It's as good as everyone says it is. It's really intense. The performances are fantastic. John Goodman is really super creepy. Mm-hmm. And I think I appreciate most that it kind of keeps you on your toes in the ways that you would hope a movie like that would keep you on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I am a little remiss. Not remiss. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that it has Cloverfield in it, and I'm so surprised. The name Cloverfield in the title.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so surprised that nobody is talking about the fact that was added later. We're bothered by this so often in movies. I remember going on a big rant about spec scripts, specifically when the sequel to The Raid came out, when The Raid 2 came out,
mm-hmm.
And it was so clearly a spec script they shoehorned the Raid mythology into. It's very weird to me that nobody is bothered by the fact that the Cloverfield stuff was added later. And they have said that when Dan Trachtenberg pitched it, it wasn't. It was called The Den or something like that. And then J.J. Abrams picked it up and they added this. It's so weird that we're not talking about that.
I will argue and say that people are talking about it, actually. In
a negative way?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard a couple different podcasts talk about how they were disappointed that it had the name Cloverfield in it. I will say that it didn't bother me. In fact, I love the inclusion of Cloverfield.
Let me say this. I loved the whole thing, mm-hmm. and I think the reason I'm not giving a harder time to it is that it's good.
Yeah,
and it's well done, and it's hard to complain about a movie that good. But I haven't heard many people complaining about it. I'm surprised, I'm relieved that other people are, but I haven't heard much.
Right. Okay. So here's a couple examples. I heard recently, again, our friends at the Nerds You're Looking For, they did a review of it, and Tyler in that episode talked about how he hated that they used Cloverfield, and it seemed like a marketing ploy and all that stuff. Which that's fair, but from my perspective of it, because it's not, I don't know how to say it exactly. So what I love about it is that they're taking the name Cloverfield and creating, at least in these two situations with these two movies, a brand of it. So there's like a really interesting kind of thing, because like I went in thinking like, I wonder if this is going to be like directly tied to Cloverfield or not, and I got that answer pretty quickly. It's kind of more like a I don't know how to explain it. I like it.
Listen, I'm with you, and you know, like you said, we're okay with it because we liked it, but I also think you're working hard to defend it.
And see, that's the thing. I'm not really working hard to defend it that much. I'm just dancing around it, so I'm not spoiling it too much. But it kind of feels like if they had taken. To say that, okay, I'm pissed that they named the movie 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then it seemed like it was just getting audiences for Cloverfield that was a draw for it. I feel like that's the same as saying, and granted, this is all with hindsight as well, because we didn't know ahead of time going in what any kind of connection it was, but that's kind of like saying, here are 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Check out anthologypod.com, which I eventually will start back up. Here are 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Here's one episode, and then watching the second episode immediately after and thinking, why wasn't anything involved in the first episode in the second episode? Like they're kind of building this interesting atmosphere of a brand, and I feel like okay, sure, it can be viewed as a marketing ploy or a kind of a BS reasoning for having Cloverfield in the title. But what I feel like 10 Cloverfield Lane did well was encompass the kind of the tone that honored the original Cloverfield pretty well. I mean, it's pretty chaotic at some point. I mean, they even did a lot of it better. I think I like 10 Cloverfield Lane better as a movie than I did Cloverfield.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah. But then also, what was interesting is that, I won't say that because that's spoiling. Never mind. But I will say that, in their spoiler section of it, over at Mad About Movies, they actually had a really interesting take on the title, that I thought, man, yeah, I agree with them. That it would have been cool if they would have done it a certain way, but they didn't. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are saying that, or that kind of assume that a lot was reworked to fit the Cloverfield thing, when I've heard that there's really not. It's just that the original script was pretty close to the finished product, except for a couple little tweaks here and there. But then again, that could just be, PR stuff. So
right. I like the idea that it's two entries in a Twilight Zone type anthology. Yeah. I like that.
Me too.
I think that's fair. I think what's weird is that we're not used to that, or we've never seen that before, so that's a little jarring.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that when people go back and see it, I think that, like, if people go back and revisit it on Blu-ray or whatever, I feel like they'll be a lot more okay with the title and everything, because it is by and large a really great movie overall. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it was they kind of took over spec script and added in the Cloverfield stuff.
Somewhat. It was a spec script that was.
It's not a spec script,
right?
And that, generally when you refer to a spec script, it's like they literally hire people to just write some stuff.
Yeah.
And then they take one that already existed and then they do something else. He came to the table with this really fully formed idea and they said, let's do a little bit of this to it.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think the way it happened was that Damien Chazelle, actually from Whiplash, he worked on the script, then called the seller, and then I think they approached Dan Trachtenberg with it when Damien went on to make, like, he got the opportunity to make Whiplash, which was his like dream movie. And so then they took it to Dan Trachtenberg, and then throughout working through it, they kind of figured like, hey, we can do this pretty cool thing where we can kind of keep it hidden, and then do this whole marketing thing, which, in terms of marketing, it was phenomenal. I thought that it was a really effective marketing campaign, and also,
well, yes, effective and slightly misleading.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
polarizing.
Okay. Okay. I think it's a bit misleading. Clearly, people were misled.
Well, I mean, I think the issue I have with that whole concept is, I guess the concept of franchising is that, what if, as an example, what if Joss Whedon had came to Fox with Firefly, and they were like, you know what, this would be a great new series of Star Trek. So instead of being something completely unique and a whole different show it would be a new series of Star Trek. Now, most of the series of Star Trek have been really awesome and great, and I don't necessarily think that would be a bad thing. But, it's just like, to use Mike's term, which I think is perfect, you kind of shoehorn an existing story into a franchise. I just think that just encourages the stunting of creativity or I don't know, trying to make everything fit into a box. I don't know. I think that's how you get vanilla movies and vanilla TV shows, and instead of something that really kind of comes out of left field or really surprises you and creates a whole new subgenre or something. But sure. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment specifically on this case, but that concept does bother me in that way.
Yeah. Mike, we'll have to talk at longer length about it at some point privately or something. And I do encourage people to go and check out the Fuller House episode where I brought this up on Potpourri, because I have I tell a really frustrating story about my theater experience with it.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. I think it's OV158.
Your theater experience with Cloverfield?
10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah. It was okay. It was irritating. Like, go back and check that out. It was like my nightmare, and then it got even worse like further in. It is OV156, and it's at the 1 hour and 31 minute mark, so listen to that. So anyway, do you have anything more on 10 Cloverfield Lane, Mike?
No, that's good.
Okay. And then it is Tiny's turn.
Yes, my last entry for Potpourri is another network TV show. It is Life in Pieces, which is on CBS. It's in its first season right now. It's really great to see CBS putting some other comedy on the air besides Chuck Lorre. Man, talk about oversaturation. Mm-hmm. I'm just sick of that guy. And so, thankfully, Life in Pieces is a breath of fresh air. To give the most basic description of the show, it's a family comedy told through the separate stories of different family members. It's very much similar to Modern Family, except that the styles are different. Modern Family has that mockumentary style going, and Life in Pieces is not that at all. There's no mockumentary, there's no fourth wall breaking or anything like that. But it is, a whole family, from the grandparents all the way through to the grandkids. The most famous people in it would be the grandparents, played by James Brolin and Diane Wiest, who are both terrifically cast. I didn't know that either of them could be so funny, but man, they're really pulling it off. And then the children of the grandparents, played by Colin Hanks and Thomas Sadoski from Newsroom, who I'm a big fan of. the cast is just terrific, and they all have really good chemistry with each other. They actually feel like a family, which is, nice. I think the highest compliment you can give. Some of the other cast is Betsy Brandt, who was most famous for Breaking Bad. One of the standouts, I think, is Zoe Lister-Jones, who I haven't really seen in anything else, but she's just hilarious. She has a terrific cadence that she uses for her comedy. She's awesome. The kids are surprisingly good. I bash kid actors all the time on this podcast, but they all do a surprisingly good job. The show has a very unique style in that it basically presents, I think, like 3 to 5 storylines every episode, and it has transition breaks where it says story number 4, the grandparents, or something like that. It's kind of, I can see why people might have a problem with it, or how it's kind of disruptive. I can see how people might think that, but it doesn't really bother me. I think they could leave it out and still have a pretty fluid show that maybe flows a little better. But I really can't take anything away from the show. It's so well done on every level. I really appreciate the writing. I feel like all of the actors just got their characters just at the snap of, like, from the first episode. It's pretty impressive how quickly it all came together. I'm sure a lot of people, again, compare it to Modern Family, and I think it really is. It's very comparable. It's definitely contemporary of Modern Family. I think you could say it's a symptom of Modern Family, because that show is just so successful and won so many awards that every network is looking for their own Modern Family. But I think Life in Pieces is really more of a competitor. It's been very successful. I don't know if it's been renewed for a second season, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't. I think it's getting good ratings, and I really hope it takes off. It's just a really funny show, and yeah, I mean, I think everybody should watch it. It's good.
Yeah, it looks like it's. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's. If I'm reading this correctly, I don't think it's been renewed yet, but it's rated number. I think it's number 3 on the list for the CBS scripted shows this season.
Gotcha.
Third
nice.
Highest rated for the 18 to 49 demographic.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that, because it's really just a funny show.
Nice.
It has a classic feel to it, sitcom, family sitcom, but it sets itself apart, definitely. I think it's great.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I may have to check that out.
Totes.
So I'll go ahead and wrap things up with one last thing. I'm trying to decide which one I'll do. Okay. So I watched a movie called The Overnight. I was pretty excited about this movie. Last year, it came out last year. It's basically, the plot summary from IMDb is, Alex, Emily, and their son RJ are new to Los Angeles. A chance meeting at the park introduces them to the mysterious Kurt. Charlotte, and Max. That's weirdly written. A family playdate becomes increasingly interesting as the night goes on. So this movie is about 2 couples who bring their kids to one of the couple's houses and have like a family playdate, basically. And it stars Adam Scott and Taylor Schilling as kind of the main couple, and then Jason Schwartzman is the guy playing Kurt. And I don't know, this movie, it was really short. It's like under 80 minutes long. And even then it kind of felt a little long.
Wow.
And it kind of felt a little dry after a while. There's some really interesting character stuff between Adam Scott and Taylor Schilling, but overall the movie really just kind of felt like it was all building toward one single punchline that was okay.
Okay.
And I mean, I kind of didn't see it coming, or didn't really see it going the way that it did. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that it was okay. It was an interesting comedy about making friends as an adult, and being in a relationship as an adult, and having kids as an adult. And it made me not want to be an adult. But I don't know. It was okay. That's The Overnight. It's on Netflix right now, so you might want to check it out. Yeah, so that about does it for this week's episode then, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to plug something. Here in, I think, 2 weeks, probably the second or third week in April, I will be on a podcast called There Are Four Lights.
Oh, nice.
Our friend Matt Quiet from Nerds Domain podcast, he invited me on. There Are Four Lights is a podcast where they basically pick an episode of Star Trek and talk about it. I mean, they're going through like all the series. So we're going to be talking about an episode from the original series, the first season. So I'm excited to be on that and definitely check it out.
I am excited to hear that. I was on an episode a while ago when they started. I can't remember what the name of the episode was. Wow, I'm looking it up now. I was on episode 10 of There Are Four Lights, Dagger of the Mind.
Nice.
So yeah, check that out. Yeah, that's exciting. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, do you have anything going
on? Let's see. Watching Home Improvement. I'll have to when I get through it, I'll have to give you guys the full rundown of my thoughts on Home Improvement. Currently, we're toward the end of the second season, and I promise you, it is just as good as you remember it.
Nice.
Sweet.
Very nice. As for us next week, I think we're going to be doing Batman v Superman.
Bats v Soups.
Mike, are you going to be back for that one, do you think?
When you guys plan on recording that one?
I don't know. We're going to see it Saturday, I think, so we're flexible.
It's possible. My guess is no, because it's back to the grind.
Okay, that's
Gotcha.
fair. I will say that...
But also, I won't see it until next week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame. But...
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's getting some interesting buzz, I think. I don't know. I haven't been paying close attention. But this will be interesting because way back in episode 7 of the podcast, we reviewed Man of Steel. So
yes, we did.
That'll be interesting to see how we feel about Batman v Superman.
How far we've come.
Yes. So that's next week. And then we're also going to have, later this week, we're going to have a bonus episode with Pat from the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. We're reviewing Daredevil Season 2. I'm going to be on Film Schlubs eventually soon. To talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I'm going to get Brian from Film Schlubs on the podcast to talk about 11/22/63 in the weeks to come, so check that out when it is released. And other than that, I think we're done here, guys.
Totes.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
I imagine over the summer I'll be able to come back.
That'll be cool.
You can nurse your son, little Anthony, while you record. It's when no one cares.
It's funny that you say that because I had a joke loaded up in the chamber when if you guys were going to ask what his name was, and I was actually going to say, well, we're naming him after his father, so Tiny.
Nice.
Oh, that would have been great. I wish we would have set you up for that.
You guys didn't send me it.
Yeah. Have you guys figured out a name yet?
We do. We have a name. We are keeping it a secret though until he's
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just too many times like people say a name and they're like, oh, okay.
Oh.
So it's like if we just force it on them. This is his name. Here he is.
Right.
Little Matt Hurt White.
Matt Hurt White. I like it. I like
People
it.
just have to deal with it.
When's the due date again?
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at ObsessiveViewer.com, or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@ObsessiveViewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer and follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer, at ObsessiveTiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.